Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. What do you think we get in today's topic? Today's topic, I'm going to be very blunt with you. It hit me. It was like, I suffered a little bit through it. Because I am just like anybody. I'm, welcome. We're all humans here, right, on this planet, doing our best with what we've got. But, you ever have your feelings hurt? Anyone? And do you ever wonder, too, if you're oversensitive or if you're just out there and you just plain don't get it? And, you kind of wonder, what the heck is that all about? Pinkies up if that's you. I mean, I've got mine up. Boy, oh boy, that is me. So we all get this, and we get our feelings hurt, and that, and the interesting part about this is, I'm studying all this. Did you know that the part of your brain that sends the pain out, to your nerve endings when you get literally hurt, when you get bruised or you bump into something or whatever, that part of you also sends out that pain when your feelings are hurt, right? Hello, Vicki. Good to see you. Yeah. So the point is that we all get our feelings hurt, and we actually feel something about that feeling. That feeling of pain is real, and it's actually sent out from your body. An interesting thing that I read, this is a little side note on the note, and I want you to, this will blow you away. I was like, what? But get this. They did some research on how we feel and how those feelings make us feel, and how the pain that we feel. They've shown that taking ibuprofen or Tylenol actually helps with the pain of feelings. Isn't that bizarre? Well, you know what I say about that? Do InflaCrusher instead. Let's protect our liver. So the next time I get hurt, I'm going to go grab my InflaCrusher, Anyway, I just thought that was fascinating. Hey, there's Angie, and Noreen is here. Jama's got her pinkies up. The pinkies up are because we all feel the pain. Francesca, you're absolutely right. This is bizarre, but it's interesting because it shows us how mind, body, we are connected, right? That's the thing that has just been such an mind blower for me. Dr. Joe Dispenza's work has really proven that out. And I, again, listen to I'm going to download those. Well, I've got them on Audible, but when we go, Mark and I are going to, we're going to go on a trip, and guess what we're going to be listening to? Those books. He doesn't know it yet, but I'm the navigator. Navigators get to choose what we listen to. Anyway, I think that's a good way to do it. So anyway, it's interesting because, we all have brain signals that go off, and oftentimes we question our feelings. We question the way we're feeling about our feelings. We question the pain that we feel from them when we wonder, are we overreacting? Are we too sensitive? Are we whatever? And what I have to say is that you're feeling what you're feeling, Maybe you are being oversensitive, but who's the one to judge what oversensitivity is? Who is? What is it? But I think the thing that we need to do is just bring ourselves back to what is it that we're feeling in the first place? Because I think a lot of times why we get these hurt feelings and the things that happen with them is that we're trying to block it. We're trying to stay away from it. We're trying not to feel the feels. And, here we go. That's the thing that's going to always blow us away. So, research suggests also that hurt feelings in particular are people's perceptions of what the hurt feelings are, not necessarily the beliefs, but the perceptions of what they are. And I look at that as that is the perception's the driver of how you feel things. And if you perceive things to just be overly over the top and just, terrible and unreal and this, that, and the other thing, that belief that you have and that perception that you have is then going to manifest itself in overwhelming feelings, in even anxiety and all kinds of stuff that's attached to it. We get into these places, and oftentimes, too, what happens is that we have a tendency to not give it a voice, and we stuff it inside, and we don't take care of it, and then, it gets even worse. And that hurt maybe doesn't come out. Maybe we see the hurt and it's scary, and we instead pivot and go over here and, start people pleasing again or overcompensating for whatever it is, because facing the hurt, facing the pain is too much. It's one thing I was explaining the other day, when we were talking about all this hurt feelings or talking about our feelings and how to deal with certain things, that when they feel overwhelming, I do physical activity oftentimes. So oftentimes I'll just vacuum this morning, but that was only because of the dog hair, not because of, not because of anything, going on, but just get the vacuum out and get it done. But, psychologists say that women tend to hold on to these hurt feelings way more than men. I don't know why that is, but there's a sensitivity there that we have. And I don't, I despise sexist things that women do this and men do that. I really do, because I think, we're more alike than we're different. But there is maybe cultural conditioning, or the way we were raised, or daughters of mothers. I don't know. I have no idea what it is. I didn't go diving into that as much as I maybe could have, but it's true. Most of us oftentimes find ourselves dealing with the hurt by stuffing it. We don't say anything about it. We eat our feelings literally and go, pantry diving. We, try harder. We put on a bigger dog and pony show. We try to people please more than ever. And, honestly, it's so dishonest. But we don't do it out of saying, I'm going to lie about this. We do it out of, I think you're right, Butterfly, protection. That makes sense, doesn't it? Hormones, says Francesca, perhaps a combination of all of the above. Cultural conditioning, who knows? Who knows? But, we all didn't have miserable childhoods. We all didn't have this we weren't raised by the same parents. We all have our own experience. But for the most part, that the researchers have found that women are not good at letting go of these things versus men. That's what the science has told us from the research. And like I said, the hurt feelings times will shift our perception of what is true because of the hurt that's inside. And again, that is dishonest, because it's not being honest about what the heck is really and truly going on. So what happens? These feelings go unaddressed. And sometimes they perpetuate and they go on for years and years and years. There's our girl, Kimberly. So the proper response sometimes is anger. How about that? And women are mostly unfamiliar with the constructive kind of anger. We talked about the volcanic kind the other day. Yesterday, was it? Yesterday, how wise women argue. Because there is a way to argue, and because you're going to get angry. Just as you're going to get your feelings hurt, you're going to get angry. Our feelings just influence everything it is that we do. And sometimes it's not in direct proportion to what just happened, but in direct proportion to, I don't know how to handle this, so therefore I'm going to do this instead. We pivot over into a place that we find to be, safer than the other thing, maybe. So the proper response is, again, is to deal with constructive anger. And, what this is saying to you is that this is an emotion that deserves to be processed. So there, these hurt feelings are indicative of something that's out of whack. So there, no big deal. I mean, it just is. And that's how it is for human beings on the planet doing their best to do their best. We all have to deal with it. Psychologist Emily Raphael says we are in hiding. Most of us are. And she's talking about women because that's her specialty. She deals at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She deals with women in psychology. We don't know who we are, she says. So what do we do about that? Well, there's a couple of things, and these are just some stuff that I grabbed both from psychology websites on studies on this. This is the science, and also just I pulled it out of my own bag because I have some things that have helped me over the years as well. Because just like you, we are all sojourners on this adventure of life where we're trying to deal with the complexity of what's inside of us and be able to express it in a way that's constructive and that's helpful and that also builds a path and builds a bridge for us to, bridge the gap between where we are and where we want to go. Because oftentimes we get tripped up with not being able to adequately express ourselves and deal with this tangle of emotion and feelings. So if we are going to express our anger appropriately, what does that mean? We have to stop trying so hard is what it means. Because we try so hard on doing everything else except expressing it. Isn't that the truth though? Have you noticed that? Because you're thinking, okay, I got to fix this. We look at the fix and not what's going on inside. We're in denial, or we're dismissing, or we don't want to, or we're scared of what that feels like. So we look for something else, Anyone? I mean, I do this. I know this is me. So, and what we want to do is when we express it, we have to do so. What does appropriately mean? Well, yesterday's show is going to give you the full 911 or 411. It could be a 911, the full 411 on how to express yourself and express the anger that you have in a way that's constructive and that's not going to torch everything and everyone around you. Okay, that's really important. And we'll talk more about that coming up in a minute here. We also need to learn how to set limits. Oh, it's the boundary discussion again. Yes, it is. Hurt feelings are usually the result of unheld boundaries. Ever notice that? I have for myself. Yes, I have let my boundary kind of go a little bit and boom, there it is. There's a big mess to clean up after that. So maybe we need to take a look at that. It's not always the case, but it is oftentimes the case that these kind of things happen and are the result of hurt feelings. Number 3 is we need to learn how to move approval from outward, looking for approval from everybody else out there, doing the dog and pony show. Exhausting. Instead of doing that, we need to learn how to move it inward. Do you approve of the way that you're handling this right now? Do you approve of the way you're feeling right now? We're disconnected from it. And making that connection makes all the difference in the world because then we have the ability to come to the table, so to speak, with something to discuss. Otherwise, we're just these blah, 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 blah. There's just so much gobbledygook there. And you can't, figure that part out. I always think of that when we have this tangle of emotion and these tangle of thoughts and all of that. I think about, going on vacation. When Mark and I would go on vacation, I had my little jewelry thing, and I'd hand him my necklace and say, fix this. And it was just a big knotted mess. And he would very, put on his glasses and very patiently undo it all. I mean, there's a lesson there because I don't have the patience to do that. And I wonder, is this telling? You know what I'm talking about. So anyway, we need to do that. And then the other thing is that we need to look at is the inner critic that we all have. We criticize ourselves and say, well, you shouldn't be feeling like that. Have you ever done that? You're overly sensitive. You shouldn't do that. Instead, you need to do this. Blah, 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 blah. It's unbelievably such a put down. And yet this is what our inner critics do to us because we're listening to them. And we're going to be talking about the inner critic, by the way. Boy, do we all have them. And boy, does she just need some shaping up, right? She could really derail you in a big way. But our inner critic, if we listen to our inner critic, the inner critic will help us to maintain this inability to handle our emotions, to handle hurt feelings, and keep us in a place of low self-esteem where we're not going forward. That's what the inner critic does, because the inner critic just rips you apart. You're so dumb. You're so stupid. I said that to myself the other day. I never do that usually. And I did it the other day. I can't remember what it was, but it had something to do with, I knocked something over and I said, Leanne, you're so dumb. I did. And then I immediately went, hold the phone. That's not true. That was a dumb thing that I just did because it was clumsy. I was just, moving too fast. But you're not dumb. You did something dumb. Let's keep pounding that one home. The biggie, however, is that often anger, those hurt feelings are often anger that's been silenced. I want you to write that down, because important, this is one of the things that just completely knocked me out of my chair today when I was preparing for the show. It is the truth. Our hurt feelings are often anger that has not been expressed. It's been silenced. And who's done that except the inner critic? Who's done that? It's just said, that's not appropriate. You can't say that. You just, shut it down. Just put up and shut up. And put up and shut up has put us in a place of anxiousness, anxiety. Put up and shut up has put us in a place of settling for less than we could be and should be. And I'm telling you this because many of us do this. For whatever reason, we have done this. And I'm certainly not going to project why. I'm not a psychologist. I can't say this is what you're thinking and this is what you've done. I know, Lord knows I hate it when people do that to me. It's just not appropriate. But you can figure that out. Do you have hurt feelings that are actually anger that have been silenced? Take a look. So here are some things, some actual actionable things that we can do about this as we try to sort it all out, as we try to take that necklace that's completely tangled up so that we can handle this stuff, right? Handle these hurt feelings, have them be expressed, and do it in a way, again, that is going to help relieve that pain in your soul and also help to get these things aired out. Important. Number one is to analyze what the heck just happened. Are these hurt feelings just the tip of the iceberg about a bunch of garbage that's underneath it? Or is it just a one-off? You know the answer to that better than I do. Of course you do. But oftentimes it is connected with old ways of doing life, old ways of seeing the world, old things. So if you're hurt because your spouse, for example, is going out with his pals for the night and they're going to go play poker. By the way, Mark does this like once a month. He goes and plays poker. Every once in a while, he'll go to an actual casino and play. Now, old Leanne, younger Leanne would have been hurt. He doesn't want to spend time with me. I would have done that. I would have been hurt. But beneath all of that would have been, he doesn't love me. He would, and then I would connect all of these deep things to it. If you're doing that, maybe it's time to excavate some of that and to discuss it all and to get rid of it all. Mine, I really went down into the deep end and went, this is all abandonment issue stuff. Because I remember watching my dad, leave every night after dinner and go out. What is that about? I just know it made my mother angry and hurt. And for me, I didn't want to see that kind of behavior in my life because it was no good. So I had a chance to process all of that. And now it's like, go play poker. It's cool. He's not abandoning me for poker. He's just going to go play poker. Appropriate. He likes it. Number 2, woman up, sister. Woman up. Here's the thing. Again, we have tangles. We have a bunch of it's this, it's that, it's this, it's connected to this or that. I don't know. Just start writing it out. This is a good place for your journal. This is a good place for everything. And then, when you start to process and go through it, remember, we are, when we have anger come up or even the hurt come up, boom, like this. What is that? That is a reflex kind of an emotion, feeling that we have that is based on this tide, this current that's inside of emotion that's going on, right? So we have all of that, but we still have the jumble. We still have the jumble of all the, the tanglement of straightening all of this stuff out. So how do you handle it? Well, like I said, woman up and deal with it. Start journaling about it. And as you process, as you go from the monkey brain all the way to that very intelligent, complex, able to abstract think, hippocampus, and your prefrontal cortex, then you can start putting it together. Maybe even, and I've done this, write out an email. This is how I feel. And maybe it has something to do with this. I don't know what it is, but I want to talk it out. But I don't feel brave enough to talk to you face to face about it. I have done this, And I think oftentimes it's a good place to start. It's a good starting place. And it's owning your stuff too. We all have to own our stuff because that's yours. That's your mess. And however it is inside and however it's coming on the outside, the processing part is on you. You're the one who has to do this. And hurt feelings, again, are usually the result of a perception that might be a little bit skewed or not, but it's not coming out well, and we don't need to do that anymore. We just need to make sure that we are, we're doing things in a good way. And remember too, yesterday's show, we don't say you always, we say, I feel this way. When you do this, I feel this way, in a way that's kind, in a way that's not blaming, because number 3 is blaming is shaming. Nobody on this earth needs to be shamed. Shame is unequivocally the worst thing ever. Ever. You don't need to go there. So you need to listen, express your hurt, and allow for the conversation, because there's a conversation there. When you are daring enough to confront the one that maybe hurt your feelings and say, I feel this way, then you need to allow for the conversation. And when it's blame-free, there's room for getting past the hurt and making resolution. Number 4 is to take responsibility for your part. Ask, how did I play into this? What was my part? What did I do? Did I say something, or did I neglect to say something? What's going on here? Because when you have a grip on how your part played into all of this, then there's a big opportunity to shift and to start feeling less hurt and take more responsibility and see, aha, this is what I can do for the next time. It's good. That's a good one. And number 5 is, how do we fix this? Do you want to make it better? Then say so, for heaven's sakes. Maybe there's an apology that needs to happen. Maybe you need to apologize. I apologize for my part in this. I apologize that, blah, blah, blah. Because what you often have when you have a situation where you've got 2 people and someone's feelings got hurt is 2 different perceptions. So if you speak from the same place of perception, you don't argue the other person's point of view, by the way, but you speak from your place of perception, then it gives you a heart that's a little bit more open, that's a little more empathetic, that's a little bit more loving, and allows you to be the woman who says, I need to apologize for going off on you. I need to take my part in this. And that gives room for the other person to say, you know what? I wasn't any better, or, I appreciate your apology. And then if they do or don't see their part in it, at least you took part of yours, took care of your part. And that's the best that we can do sometimes with people. If you clean up your side of the street and your neighbor decides not to clean up theirs, that's on them. That's on them. But having hurt feelings is part of the human experience. It's part of what makes us human. It's part of what makes us so complex. Just living with them and stuffing them, though, should never be the object of how we deal with them. Instead, we need to learn how to express this in a way that is both constructive and also is effective in helping you to heal what's inside of you. We all have it. Nobody is immune. right? Pinkies up, and peace be with you.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.